Welcome to SaaS Buyers Club. I'm your host, Omeed.
Hey, and I'm your host, co-host, Joe.
And I'm Anna Nadeina. I'm the head of growth at SaaS.Group, also the host of SaaS.Unbound podcast, where I talk with lots of incredible founders about all things SaaS.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this week, Anna. Really excited to have this
Sure.
conversation with you. I'd love to hear more about SaaS Group and your podcast. I think that would be a fantastic place to start. So why don't we start there?
Sure. So SaaS.Group is a serial buyer of great, profitable, successful SaaS companies. We used to be very much focused on bootstrap companies, and if we did this at the beginning of the year, I would say we buy bootstrap businesses. But this is no longer the case. It just kind of happened that we started acquiring bigger companies, somebody that has raised funds before, and it went really well. Since we're growing, we thought it was a natural path to follow. So now we changed our message a little bit. So we do buy profitable, successful SaaSes with a bootstrapper mindset. And this is something that we're really passionate about because, there are two paths that you can go into when you raise VC money. You either go all in, buy whatever software or build whatever software you want to, hire absolutely everybody that you like, really splurge on like whatever, because money is not an issue. Or then you still, try to stay frugal and true to the business and very product oriented. And those are the guys that we are after. It's also the culture that we're building. It's just easier that way for us. Those were the companies that we acquired first. We work brilliantly with them. The teams are amazing. And so we just decided that we will, grow our portfolio and add companies that have raised money before, but we will still stay true to the core of the business, the core of the mindset that we like. And the podcast, that was kind of the reason I joined SaaS.Group in the first place. I had a podcast before at my previous company, and it went pretty fine. And one of the co-founders of SaaS.Group noticed it and offered me this gig. So, now SaaS.Unbound, we thought long and hard about the name. Even asked ChatGPT to help us. That didn't go so well. We ended up with the name SaaS.Unbound, and this is kind of the main strategy from the beginning to talk to the founders, to get out there. As any business, you have to talk to your customers or potential customers. In our case, potential sellers. So this is what I do, and it's working really great. A lot of insights, a lot of great information that founders share. This is how we stay on top of everything. It's also a great way to approach sometimes the founders that could potentially sell to us in the future. It's a great way to build a community, because that's also one of the goals right now. We've started to do more events to really bring founders together, share knowledge, what we know, what they know, because founder journey can be very lonely. So we did a few events already that are working really well, and just giving founders the exposure. No strings attached. We want to showcase great businesses, and the podcast is a great way to do that.
Very cool. Very cool. Joe, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say that's awesome to hear. I really appreciate how you're both so community oriented, but additionally kind of just heavily targeted on what you're looking at. I even want to ask more about Okay, so I hear the general picture on what you guys are doing. Can you give us a little more detail on, we talked a little bit about bootstrapping or bootstrap
Mhm.
startups. Uh, can you give any more detail about any particular criteria in the businesses you're looking for?
Okay, so we like to say that everything we're looking at is something that we would like to have. It's nice to have, but it's not a requirement. The only requirement that we have is profitability. So we the requirements that we have right now are businesses that have been live for at least 5 years. So not
Okay.
too, not too old, not too young, someone that's established on the market and had an opportunity to become profitable and figure out their roadmap,
Mm.
um, to mature with the team. Then another nice to have is product-led growth. Again, this is something that we work very well with, and we would like to stay that way. We have great experts in the team that can support this journey.
Mm.
So product-led growth is also something that we're looking at. Um, we like that. We like when businesses have most of their recurring revenue coming from subscriptions, right? So we do have businesses now that are a little bit more oriented towards bigger businesses, towards enterprise. So way bigger tickets, way more sales oriented. Um, but yeah, this is more of an exception than a rule.
So like
And
you're both interested in both B2B and B2C is what you're saying there?
no. We're just saying that we like it to be a product-led growth where we don't have to have big sales teams. We're looking into products that are very self-served, right? We don't need a sales team to push them forward. We do have those products. We do have a few that are more on an enterprise level with higher tickets, but yeah, we're still trying to stay a bit serve more of SMBs, smaller businesses, other bootstrap companies even.
Got it.
And yeah,
I actually have a
every
question for you.
sure.
Yeah. So, what was your podcast before? I heard you mention that you had another podcast. What was the other podcast?
Right. So I was working at a tech startup. It was
Mhm.
a fairly early stage. It was a low. Well, why was it? Still is. It's a low code platform. Very developer oriented. And
Mm.
when I joined, we were still kind of figuring out which approach to take, because there were like two tiers to the platform. There was no code, low code, and then high code. So everything a developer could actually do themselves. Uh, and when I was
Are you a
there, we were
techie?
kind of, oh no, that's the like that
Okay.
was the reason why when I got this offer, I thought, okay, perfect timing, because I'm not sure, like, because we pivoted our strategy towards more techies, more, high code. And I thought, oh my God, like, you can fake it all you want, but when I start talking about JavaScript, I mean, I'll crumble in 5 minutes, and like you know, I'm not a techie. Um, so yeah,
Okay.
Wait,
and I was
go.
talking about the product, so
Wait, go on. Wait a second. So we were talking about other podcasts, and then was the podcast for that business? Is that what you were saying?
yeah, it was the podcast for that business. But I mean, it was at that point we were more no code and business oriented, because like the platform
Mm.
would be trying to solve the problem of lost code, lost
Mm.
projects, when devs, develop a product, but they struggle with building a company on top of that. So again, I would talk to founders and like a bit maybe earlier stage businesses, and try to figure out, how do you take it from 0 to 1. So I would talk to tech founders mostly too. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great way to benefit the audience that we were serving, to benefit our community. But once we pivoted towards more tech, that's it.
That's when you were like, whoa, way out of my
Yeah.
league. I totally get it.
I was
totally
like,
get it.
what? Wait, I didn't know you needed a server.
That makes sense there. So we talked a little bit about criteria of the businesses you guys are looking at. I definitely want to get in more to that conversation, just about businesses you guys are looking at, prior experiences with businesses that you've bought or had other relationships with within the same setting. But first, before we get to that, could you please tell me, so we were just talking now about your prior podcast, right? And
Yeah.
you currently now have a podcast though, right? And could you say the name for that for us again?
Yeah, it's called SaaS.Unbound.
Okay, SaaS.Unbound.
Yeah, so like we're getting all the SaaS dot whatever. We have SaaS.Group, SaaS.Unbound,
Oh,
SaaS.Academy for our AMAs and like local events that we do internally, SaaS.Connect for our events. So, we're taking them all.
that's funny. That's funny. If you guys you need trademarks, I have a good guy I can refer you to. I think I point that.
Okay. Roger that.
For all those SaaS leads. Okay, that's cool. I guess though I was gonna follow up and say, why don't you tell us a bit about what you normally talk about there? But I have a feeling it's just a lot of SaaS conversations. So
a lot of SaaS conversation. Yeah, like everything that would bring, again, something that would bring value to our audience, right? We don't necessarily talk about any. So, like when I said we are sometimes talking to founders of companies that we would potentially want to acquire, we're not talking like to fish information like, oh, you didn't want to talk to our M&A team about your financials and like your revenue and like what you're doing and blah blah blah. Talk to me. Like potentially this is not about that, this is for exposure. No, this is not like a fishing expedition. No, it's just it's literally just giving exposure to those founders, building a goodwill, building a relationship. Then we ask them to join the events, join the community that we're building. So it's all about, we always talk about building a relationship with your potential acquirers or with your acquirers, because even if in 2-3 years time they end up remembering, oh, there was SaaS Group, they were kind of cool, I want to go back and maybe sell to them. There is this connection, there is this layer of relationship that we've established already. And but it comes with no strings attached whatsoever.
Oh, that's super
Absolutely.
awesome.
And it's like a entryway to the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of all of these other, SaaS group, SaaS, I think Academy, SaaS Connect, all the other SaaS dots,
Yes.
So what I think is really interesting is it sounds like a core value and principle of SaaS Group is that, this bootstrap mindset. And I think that's a really interesting concept that I think we can highlight in terms of like, how do you define bootstrap mindset? I heard you kind of juxtapose it against, the visual of, the VC funded startup where maybe they spend too much on snacks and, stuff like that or whatever, versus the bootstrap mindset. Talk to us a little bit about that bootstrap mindset.
So bootstrapper mindset, it's not really about spending too much on snacks, stack away, but it's just about like not it's about being mindful about your spending. It's about being frugal about some things. It's about utilizing and leveraging the correct tools. Like, for example, even if you raised money, doesn't mean that you have to build everything that you want inside your product, right? Hire the best devs, pay them huge amounts of money. I was just shooting a podcast with one of our co-founders. He's also a CTO, and he said, sometimes you just need to buy a freaking SaaS. And yeah, I think it's a great representation of what we're looking for, right? You don't need you don't always need to build something and like splurge on it and make your product heavier. Sometimes you just need a subscription, which is like $9 a month, right? So it's about putting together tools and strategies that would help you grow the product, grow the company, grow your community, grow your audience, acquire customers, whatever it is you're after. But do it in the most structured way and a frugal way. So that's what we do also. Like we hire when we need it, when we really need it. We do a ton of tests. We don't necessarily spend money on marketing much because we're experimenting with a lot of stuff. We never paid for, although we were offered to like bring guests on the podcast. That never happens. This is not what we do. So yeah, it's just about being smart and creative and sometimes scrappy.
So I'm definitely seeing there that it's kind of just a conservative or frugal financial mindset that you're really speaking to there, whereas often you see people kind of saying, let's spend every dollar we need to keep up this burn rate. How do you balance that when you see a business that's growing rapidly and they may have some operating expenditures or other expenditures that weren't really on point? Do you then say, oh, those guys aren't frugal? Is that just a case-by-case analysis? I know I'm not giving a very great hypothetical here, but I think you might know what I mean.
Yeah. No, it's very much case by case. So whatever, again, this is something that we talked um, with our co-founders on the podcast. It's everything. We can work around everything, right? Whatever you do or whatever you did, we will look into it. We'll analyze it. We will potentially change your strategies a little bit if we buy you, right? Because again, this is just what we do. This is how we work. We give you incredible teams. We support you with great experts. We invest, obviously, in whatever you need if you really need it. But again, if you really need it, we don't need to like just buy all the shiny stuff.
Okay, I see that there. I mean, that makes sense. I don't have much more to push on the bootstrap aspect. I mean, that's the way Omeed and I are mentally from a business management perspective too. So I mean, I just kind of just agree with you there. It just makes a lot of sense. Omeed, were you going to take this conversation in another direction? I'll throw the mic over to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So the other thing that I heard you said is like, and something that we're seeing in the market right now is like heavy emphasis on product-led growth. Just for the audience, can you give us like an understanding of the definition of product-led growth and what you specifically look for?
Right. So, like I said, it's we're looking into product-led growth strategies that are prevalent in the companies. And that means that whatever they do, they focus on the product, and the product is something that makes customers love them, right? You don't necessarily need any other strategies out there. We are, I mean, of course, we support product-led growth with other stuff, right? But we want to focus on the product again, have great teams to develop your product, take it to the next level. We allocate, there is a huge central team. Well, it's not huge, it's like 45 people, but still. We allocate great talent, great resources into the team to see where we could help. And yeah, we work on the product mostly. There is obviously some content marketing involved if they need it. We do have some paid campaigns sometimes, but yeah, it's all about the product. Just because that also speaks for the bootstrap mindset. This is what you focus on. This is what you're selling. This is your biggest value. And I think right now, especially because the market is a little bit slower, it's more difficult to acquire new customers. So everything you have to focus on is retention, right? And how do you retain your customers? You give them value, you give them even better product, because at this point, I think the stickier you have it, the better. But that this is just how we rolled from the beginning, and it works, and we will love this strategy. So yeah, this is what we keep with us, even if we changed our vision a little bit.
So I hear you loud and clear. So product-led growth is tied directly to something else that's a common issue in SaaS, which is a barrier to entry, a moat for somebody else being able to, a new entrant to the market, being able to substitute your product out, or just generally as to the, how long would it take for somebody else to develop a similar product. Now, when you guys look at potential SaaS products and businesses, how deep do you go into your due diligence regarding, okay, they have this product that is the bastion of their business. How easily can somebody replicate that? Have you had and maybe put price pressure on you? Have you had an example where you guys have bought a business, later had that happen, or any story kind of on that subject?
Okay, so a lot of founders actually ask about that, like especially when they ask for like signing NDAs. Let's sign all the NDAs before we even start talking. And well, the answer is always the same. Like, first of all, an NDA can only take you so far, because people talk. We're not the only ones you're talking to, right? You're also talking to your customers and I don't know, your employees, and the word gets out, like what you're building. And no one's dropping everything to just replicate what you're building, right? And we're not doing that at any point. It's
I'm not saying you are. I meant more competitors. Yeah.
Right, but no, it's because it's not about the product only. Obviously, like I said, we're very product-led growth oriented, but on top of the product, there's just so much. There is, the I don't know. Let's start with even the personality of the founder or the CEO. Like, we have this great example. We have a brand called Rewardful. It's an affiliate marketing tool, and like what they do right now, great product, right? In itself works perfectly, has a ton of fans. They're always iterating, they're adding some new features. Like I said, great product, love them. But there is also, for example, the CEO, Emmett. He's doing such a brilliant job. Like his personality, what he's doing on social media right now, how he goes out to the public and talks to the audience and builds community. They're very much loved on Twitter. It's all him. And I think he's driving the growth very much as well. So there is that. When we talk, right, when we talk about like raising funds, everyone says, oh, but at first there is like 80% chance of success is because of the founder, because of like how they talk about the product, how passionate they are, like how they are able to sell it. And I completely agree. But even right now, um, at this point of growth of the product, it played such a great role. Like when he went out there, when he started talking, when he started to be the voice of the company, it just pushed the growth so much. Like when I see their when I look at the like analytics, I'm like, wow, like you did such a great job.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
right, so there is that. Then there is pricing. We're constantly testing different pricing strategies, and what value you have for that price.
Mm.
Then it's the UX, right? We're also trying to, sometimes we buy products where it might not be the best, let's say, so we allocate resources there. Let's change it. Let's do something new there. Let's make sure that it's seamless and intuitive, and like people love it to even look at it. So there are just so many things um, that play the role in product success, that it's not just about the code. The code, I mean, I don't know. Maybe even if I take the time off work, I can learn and replicate the code in 1 year. But what good would it do if I don't know how to sell it? If I don't know how to speak about the product, how to I don't know, how to fire that fire.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. We just came off of one other podcast where the guy was talking about how, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm not going to try and remember everything exactly, but he like had a bad experience. Do you have any horror stories that you learned a lesson from that you'd be happy to share with us?
Um okay, so it's not, I don't think it's related to that much. We don't have many horror stories. And just like coming back a little bit to that previous question, sometimes like we say, yeah, like 90% of the time when we do all kinds of due diligences, um, it's it goes on and we end up buying a company. But sometimes when we look at everything and we get to the technical due diligence, and obviously we go through the code and blah blah blah, so we know everything that's inside the company, so we can replicate it, right? Potentially, I don't know,
But
founders think
again,
that,
but I just want to be clear. I wasn't talking about you guys replicating a business. I know
okay,
that's not the business
yeah,
model. I was
no.
talking about what if a competitor did it after you bought them, and therefore you spent money but lost out because the market had no moat. I mean, the product had no moat. That's what I meant. I didn't mean you guys replicating it. No, but please,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
no, not at all. Please continue with what you're saying.
Because that's often also a question. Like we get into your code, like there
Yeah.
is an NDA, of course, that we sign, but oh my god, what if you do have some competing products?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
no,
thing, but
we just
that's just the business. You have to look at the code.
yeah, we just we let go. It's all good, it's all yours. We're not touching that.
Oh, interesting.
uh
Because my question was going to be like, how have you worked with like founders? Because what you're talking about is like seller trust, essentially. Like the
Oh yeah.
seller has to trust the buyer to the point.
and
It's like,
vice
hey, you want
versa.
to sell your company? Yeah, like it's a all of M&A is relationship based, which is why I love it so much, because there's like so much psychology and relationship. Joe loves the technical legal work stuff. I love the relationship and psychology aspect of M&A. So yeah, I mean, what you're speaking to is that seller trust, which is incredibly important.
Yeah, like for example, I don't know, I don't think we ever so far dropped anybody after we signed an LOI. and LOI for a lot of companies is just like, yeah, whatever. We still can get out of it. For us, LOI, that's it. It's a handshake. We love you. Let's go for it. So yeah, we try to go like this, and this is what we're pushing, the narrative that we're pushing, because yeah, a lot of deals are being done, not just by us, right, by other companies. And a lot of times I hear stories that are like, oh, it didn't go so well, we did not enjoy our acquisition. And yeah, we try to fight that. We try to make sure people enjoy it as much as possible.
Talk to us a little bit about the deals that SaaS Group is like. How many deals have you guys done this year, for example?
So we just announced our 5th acquisition this year. It was it was a lot of fun. Like we just announced the 3rd one 2 months ago, and they were like, "Oh, we're the new guys. It's so cool." And then 2 months after, they're like, "Oh, we're not the new guys anymore." and then a week after that, the new guys were like, "Oh, we are not the new guys anymore."
Everyone's just like, you
yeah,
guys move
like,
too fast,
move. Yeah. So our M&A team is doing such an incredible job. I mean, I just love to watch them work. But yeah, so now we have 17 brands. The last 2 are UserSnap and Dash This. UserSnap is from Austria and Dash This is from Canada, and we were super lucky to actually have them with us during our annual retreat in Barcelona just a couple of weeks ago. And it's just like, for me, it's a golden place to get the information, because they're just like fresh out of the oven. Ask them anything, like how it went, why they're selling, because it's just so important for my job, because I'm responsible for the messaging, responsible for like talking to founders, as in bringing them those values, talking to them about the values that we're preaching. It was so beneficial for me, and cool guys, we just had so much fun. But yeah, fairly small teams. We're very founder oriented, but we're also very team oriented. So for the founders, we want to make sure it's the most flexible, easiest, most transparent, streamlined process as possible. So we were just having this call yesterday with our team, and they were like, "Oh, these guys, so they sold, and the deal took like 9 months," and we were like, "Oh my god, 9 months! It's just like, it's horrible. Like how
how could you go for so long?"
yeah. And we're like, we're trying in 8 weeks. If it's not done in 8 weeks, so we're not doing something right. But yeah, so we try to make it streamlined because of the just the mindset of the founders. They want it done quick. We try to make it very flexible. So again, something that we talked about with Tim Schumacher, our founder. So whenever there is the first call with the founder, one of the first questions is why you're selling, right? Because if you're selling to, I don't know, to buy a boat and go sailing, then there it is. We want to give you the money, and you get your boat and you go sailing. It should be done in 8 weeks. We should get rid of each other, basically, as soon as possible, right? If you feel like you want to stay, we want to make it as good for you to stay as possible. So for example, we had this, and it's my personal favorite story. I love it. I tell it every time. We had the founder who actually wanted to go at first because he had a child, and he wanted to spend more time with family, and it was very difficult because it was a teeny tiny team and he was doing a lot of stuff. And during the process, he actually loved how we were doing things. And he was like, what, second thoughts, can I stay? And he's with us, and he's staying longer, and is just the best person to work with, and he's happy, and we're obviously happy because like he's very much invested in the product. He knows the roadmap. So we try to make it as favorable for every founder as possible. And then there is the team, and we try to keep it as is as well. Obviously, like, sure, it's not, it doesn't always work out, right? Some people leave, some people cannot comprehend the change, right? How is it that, I don't know, maybe especially if the founder leaves, how is it that we're going to work for another company? What if everything changes? And so there are different reasons for people to leave, obviously. But we try to keep the team intact because they're the people that took the product to this success, to make it attractive for us in the first place, right? So they know, again, they know the product, they're invested. Why would we lose them? It would be not a smart move.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that's really coming across for me here is that you guys are really great at integrating targets and the teams. And that's actually not a lot of people are good at that, but it's not the broadest of skills. Everyone definitely does not have that skill. And we often see whether it's just slight, like I was going to say scruffness, but really whether it's just slightly bumpy or whether it's just like, okay, it's usually not as positive and I feel as cohesive as is coming across to me here from your guys' experience. I want to ask then are there a few things for other buyers out there, or there are a few things you'd share, maybe key values that really explain your guys' approach to that integration, that post-acquisition integration process?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, we try to keep the team and all people intact. We try to integrate them into our broader scope. So, for example, we are very big on knowledge sharing. So, I'm not going to say the name of the other company, but there is this other company that also buys standalone products, and they let them be standalone products, and they never really share anything that's going on in these companies. And that's kind of their strategy, right? They can work, they're professional. Yes, we do keep our brands as standalone brands, but we love to share knowledge. We have this, like I said, we have this central team where, for example, we have a lot of content marketers or like product people, finance, like whatever you need, right? Whatever you're lacking in the brand that we bought, we will allocate a person there, and then they will share with us like what's going on, how we can all help. We get together once in 2 weeks, the entire marketing team. We discuss how we can help brands. We get their marketers into our team and discuss again how we can help, what we can, I don't know, any subscription that you need, any tool that you would like to use, how it would help you, what are the KPIs you're looking at, what's your next goal, right? So we love to do that for every team out there. There are, of course, Slack channels, and sometimes people say, "Oh, but it's just Slack. It's fluff. It doesn't add anything." No, in our case, again, we share everything that's going on, how it affected our companies, how other brands can use it. So everything revolves around that. So that's a core value that we want to keep. Then we have a bit broader scope on SaaS Academy. This is the internal events that we do. We bring sometimes people that I talk to on the podcast, and they're a bit more invested in like a certain niche. And I feel like, oh, that could be great. A lot of brands could benefit from it. Like, for example, the last one we had was with Tabiei. Jane Portman. The last SaaS Academy we had with Jane Portman from Userlist, it was about B2B email marketing automation, something that, a lot of marketers, a lot of teams could benefit from. And we did it. We did a podcast first, and then it was like, Jane, do you want to do this for us? And she's like, of course, because like for them, it's also a great way to potentially acquire new customers, right? We did product management AMA with the founder of Bucket, a great tool for product managers. And I think we ended up working with them. So something for us, great new knowledge. We do part of SaaS Academy live, right? As an M&A, we do it on LinkedIn. So again, we try to bring more value to founders, the external founders. And then we bring more to us as a way for them to acquire customers potentially, and for us to share knowledge, because this is what we do. So yeah, keeping the team intact, share knowledge, be very transparent about the communication. We actually have team manuals and people manuals, because when you come into a company that's growing so fast, you have to work with so many people. It benefits everybody if like you're coming to me. No one's coming really to me because I'm a one-person team, but no, just kidding. But for example, if you're working with our content managers, there you go. How do you work with them? You've never seen the person, right? So you go into Notion, you read their manual, like when to approach them, what's the best time to talk to them, how to talk to them, and blah, blah, blah. So obviously, like now it's becoming a bit more of a challenge to integrate so many people to make sure everyone works together. Communication in such a rapidly growing company can be tricky, but we're trying to do everything. It's all about relationship and transparency. I think that's something that we really, really value.
So go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just kind of wanted to
please, man.
continue on the same thread, Ron. I'm also seeing like this hugely unspoken element too, which is I feel like you guys have a different. I don't want to make generalizations here. I was gonna say a different culture than your average New York PE or San Francisco SaaS. But I was gonna say you guys probably have it appears you guys might have a deeper or a different culture that also lends its hand significantly in the integration process. Omeed, the next question I had ready, which was right on after this one, was about terms. So, when you're buying a business, the founder comes on, what terms do you offer them to ensure they're continually motivated, but also so that you guys are getting your traditionally expected stakes, etc.? Omeed, that was my next question. Do you just want to go with that, or do you have anything before that?
Yeah, I'm just curious what Anna would say, and then I'll jump in with a question after.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so well,
what do you offer them?
Okay, well, like I said, we're very flexible in terms of what we're offering. So if the founder wants to stay, I cannot really disclose the actual terms of like what, but
that's fine.
Yeah, basically it's we operate on it like case by case
Totally
situation, right? If they are coming with with a burnout, we cannot tell them, oh, you have to stay with us for 3 years. No one's going to benefit from that, right? We want to say, okay, sure, like let's get it over with in like half a year. I mean, like the entire process where they get the money and we get everything. Everything. But sorry.
By the way, what I'm getting at there was, like, do you have typical, like, oh, we offer between 5 and 15% equity that they can retain, or maybe they could vest, or is there no equity? Is there just cash? And if there's cash, do you have typical bonus plans or anything, or is it all case by case? It could be anything.
It could be anything. It's very much case by case, and I'm honestly not the best person to talk about it too, because I'm not deeply um, into the process of buying. Like I'm very like high level, right? I talk to people. I'm probably like before I joined, it was Dirk Salmer, our head of origination. He was the first guy to guide them towards um, the acquisition. Now I think I'm like one level up. I'm talking to those who are like on the brink. So I'm like, I widened
to
my
that
pipeline a little bit.
to that effect, I mean, one of the things that I heard you say is that you talk to a lot of the founders, and it sounds like you have a lot of conversations with them about why they want to sell. That's something that we talk about a lot on the show, actually, because one of the concepts that Joe and I often talk about is something that we call the exit sweet spot. So we believe that there is a certain place where a business if it's sold, it would get the greatest value possible for that business. And sometimes it's earlier than people expect, and sometimes it's later than people expect. For example, if a founder comes to you and they're super burned out, but the company is on the decline, they're not going to get the greatest value for the company anymore because it's too late. So now they need to build the company back up if they wanted to be able to access that, what we call the exit sweet spot. So I'm super curious. It sounds like you have a lot of conversations with founders about why they want to sell. Tell us about what you're seeing.
Right. So again, very much case by case. Like I mentioned, there was this one sale because the founder wanted to spend more time with the family, and that's totally valid. We think that like whatever it is, just to communicate it as early as possible, and we'll work around it. There were some sales where it was a very successful business, but the founders just wanted to take the risk off the table a little bit, right? Maybe not be there 24/7, right? Get it to somebody else to take care of it, stay with it for some time, but then go build something else. Some realize that they're builders, right? They want to build their next big thing. They took it to this height, and it's not as thrilling. It's scaling. You have to have a strategy. You have to have KPIs. You have to be more of a CEO, right? So that there is that, and again, we have to like work around it and offer them the best terms. Sometimes it's reasons that are very I don't want to say strange, but very untraditional.
Okay, like what's a strange
Well,
reason?
I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but I want to hear something.
Yeah, I want to know, like, what's a strange reason? Not strange, out of the ordinary.
Well, it's
different.
not strange, but it's like very, I would never think that somebody would sell because of that. And it's not something that we did. It's just I heard this as as a reason to sell. We never, I think we never had like a strange reason, but that reason was so I want to sell in well, sometime soon because of because like they're going to change the president, and they are a little bit afraid that the next one is going to install some kind of weird taxes, and like whenever they sell it eventually, when he's the president, they will lose just so much more money, so they have to like sell it now so
they
that
felt
there's
pressure to sell,
right, at least something left. So political situation, like who knew that could be a reason to sell your company?
I thought you were going to say something like a guy was collecting cats.
No.
I really thought it was going to be super strange.
That that would be interesting.
Or he
but yeah, just
so he used to go to Canada to to get more birds.
He wants to become a animal balloon expert.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll find those. I'm pretty sure there are those people, but yeah, it just like was okay out of all things. Okay.
I hear you. By the way, I want to tie off the last thing I asked real quick, which was we're talking about basically offers for you to the seller of a business, and basically, I guess for watchers out there or listeners out there who are founders or looking to sell their business, I guess the key takeaway is that, you know, if they had something they specifically want, say, oh, I really want to retain a couple of points of equity, then that may be something you guys would entertain. Or if they're kind of flexible too, maybe they would talk with you generally. A lot of buyout firms do definitely have pretty cut and dry offers, like packages or what they do. So I think that's really helpful to know that you guys are just basically trying to make a good deal and you're flexible.
Yeah.
It's case by case basis analysis. That makes sense.
Yeah, very much.
Omeed, why don't you take us ahead?
Cool. Another question I have is so you all consider yourself like a PE firm, right? Is that what you would consider yourself? No, you're not a PE firm. Okay,
no. We're avoiding that at all costs. We're a serial buyer.
Okay, a serial buyer.
You're avoiding it. Is that from a branding perspective that you're avoiding
it is from a branding perspective. Like we're not avoiding it, but we're not using this, right? Because selling to PE, I don't want to say it's unsexy this year, but it is, you know, when you think about PE, you think about serious guys in serious suits coming to you with the lawyers and let's do that.
You're literally making me feel bad.
Sorry.
Dude, this guy in a suit. I know, right?
Right?
Like,
You're wearing a jacket, huh?
You know. But wait a second. I'm going to pause you there real quick. I feel like this is really connected with the fact that you guys are dealing with tech guys who usually aren't wearing suits, and you know they're maybe from the West Coast or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, so like because we're so focused on bootstrap companies, bootstrap founders, you know, maybe smaller scale businesses, those guys just want a deal to be done over a handshake. They want to come to you and maybe like get a beer, talk to Dirk, say, this is what I want. This is why I want to sell. This is the boat that I want to sail into the ocean. And yeah, we want to entertain that because
okay, like one second.
I was just saying it's not.
Has anyone bought a boat? Has anyone actually bought a boat?
No, I'm just saying that.
Is it you that wants? Cool. Do you want to buy a boat? Is this? It's you, isn't it?
Do you want a boat?
I'm manifesting. But
I want a boat too, so I get it. Right? You know, Joe and I talk about a boat all the time, so
I think someone bought a car, like a sports car. Like,
okay,
but that was just like the not a boat, not cool. There yet.
But you were saying, sorry.
Yeah. So we wanted to entertain, you know, their needs and the way they want to the deals to be done. And when you talk to them and say, hello, we're a PE company, it gives away that like casual, let's do a deal over a beer kind of vibe.
It's very cultural, and I go so far as to say that it's not necessarily that you're avoiding that branding, but it's just not it really isn't who you guys are at all. And not that and again, I'm going to defend PE a little bit there. I mean, not that it's like horrible or anything. Just the most cutthroat people on the planet. They're not bad people.
Right.
Yeah. But
nothing's wrong with PE. I mean, sorry if I offended you.
No, not at all.
Okay, but it's just there are businesses that want to sell to PEs. They want to talk to serious people. They want to talk to they want to have that situation where they're at the big round table and they sign their documents and stuff. That's just not who we are. That's not how we do stuff. We want this streamlined, super flexible case by case scenario for each founder. And this is what we do. This is how we brand ourselves, and this is how we talk to founders. Like out of I don't know how many calls I've been to with founders that wanted to potentially sell to us. It was just like, it was never really strictly business. It was also about like, oh, hey, this is why you want to sell. Oh, you have, because you had a kid, and what's the name of your kid, and like, where do you live, and like how. So like, it's very, it's very casual. We want to build this relationship where we are very transparent with each other, because if they stay, we have to have a good relationship. You don't want to stay in a company where people just want money and KPIs and ROI and blah, blah, blah.
Your guys' culture sounds so cool. I want to work with you guys.
Yeah.
Right?
How do we get in here?
If you buy our offer, no.
That's hilarious.
Can we
I was
join
thinking
the
the
group?
same thing too. I was like, gosh, like,
I love to work with
I want to
these
be a
guys.
part
That's
of
how I
this
feel.
too.
I know. I'm like, man, where have these guys been my whole life? This sounds like
Right.
the best corporate culture.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
We were thinking about like, what else can we do to just like push that narrative. What can we do differently, like, because we do these events, and the last event was in Hamburg, and we just rented a boat and went there, with a couple of workshops too, because like we like to share knowledge, and like because we bring together such incredible people that are very successful, and we want them to talk business a little bit, but also have beer and have fun. And then we had this another one in Barcelona. Also, we spent like 4 hours in the business school with workshops, and we discussed work and how we mostly talked about sales, sales teams, and lead generation on LinkedIn. We had Stefan Smulders there, the rock star of lead generation. But then, we took a bus to the beach, and, we just spent time at the beach with the founders. So yeah, I see you want to join us even more now. So
Absolutely. Now I'm like super sold.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
it's already like he's like
I'm
texting,
in.
like send me
Yeah,
your
and
contract.
It's like you can sell to like these these PE guys in suits that are gonna put you in a boardroom, or sell to SaaS Group. They'll take you on a boat. You'll have a bunch of beer, have the time of your life. It's like cool,
Yeah.
There's
Are
a
you
cool
just trying to
culture.
say they're gonna liquor you up?
that's the
Well, the
trick.
PE guys would probably do that too, honestly. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, it's I really would I would definitely I would use the phrase cultural differences here as opposed to one being right or wrong, because
Absolutely.
there are I mean, it is what it is, and I definitely see it as being a fit with the people that you're buying businesses from. Like obviously, we have worked with a lot of founders, and we know that a lot of founders might be such independent mindset that they were never corporate people. And so they don't have a lot of those corporate behaviors or expectations because they're literally just built their own business. Obviously that's not everybody. But so in other words, I totally get it. I get it. Sign us
Yeah,
up.
and we were thinking like, how can we take it up a notch? And it was like, okay, so next deal we have to like sign it while diving, or sign it while
skydiving.
taking our balloon.
Oh,
And yeah, no one has said yes to that yet. So if someone is listening, wants to sell their company to SaaS Group, let's do a hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon. I would love that. That would be so cool.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
recently of like doing a little hot air balloon things. I had this flashback recently. I saw like a picture of a hot air balloon. This is a total anecdote. Like a month ago, And I was like, man, when I was a little kid, I always thought how awesome it would be to ride one of those. But I'm an adult now, and I can just do that if I wanted to.
And now you could do it while closing a deal. How about that?
Yeah. Right?
It's yeah. Well, I don't
Sign
know.
with SaaS Group so you can close on a hot air balloon.
Frankly, this sounds like a classic. It sounds like a
That's
classic
our ad on
situation.
Facebook.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna clip that too. Trust me, I'm gonna clip that.
Honestly, it sounds like a situation where one-upping it is not the thing, but just doing what you're just doing what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing, because sometimes what you're doing is good enough, and it doesn't need to be made better. And that's definitely the feeling I'm getting with that, and especially if you're growing so rapidly. I'd say that making sure you can upkeep that experience while growing and ensuring that whatever that looks like over time as you hit the next growth milestones would be sort of what I would look at. But it's not my business. What am I talking about? Your guys' business. And so, but yeah, okay. I want to kind of redirect us a little bit towards so I want to redirect the conversation a little bit and get in a little bit more detail about your guys' acquisitions and experiences, so that some listeners can learn from them. Is there a specific deal that you could tell us about and give us a few key lessons learned that you guys or you yourself may have learned about the buying process and providing with the deal specifics, etc., to the extent you can?
Sure. So I can share one horror story maybe.
Oh.
So something that we definitely learned. So it was a little bit back in the days. Well, back in the days, we were like 3 years old, but still. It was one of the first acquisitions, I guess. And during the technical due diligence, we used a tool to go over the code. And apparently, that tool was not very secure. So what it did, potentially, we don't know, but it potentially leaked the code, right? And it was like when we realized that, it was, well, it was, of course, very bizarre for us. So we had to even contact the FBI to help us deal with it, right? So what do you know? You buy businesses, you you end up with the FBI. But yeah, so never used external tools after that, right? So yeah, technical due diligence can be a bit of a challenge. Other than that, our CTO says nothing to be afraid of, but stuff happens. So that was, and they ended up being like one of the best acquisitions we've ever done.
Wow.
We never expected them to grow that fast and to those heights, but yeah, they ended up being like one of the I guess best in terms of growth so far. So yeah, that was kind of a very short horror story, because otherwise
Sure.
I think we just all of them were very streamlined. We are mostly, I think a couple of deals went longer than 8 weeks. But that was just like such an exception. And we were going a little bit back and forth, negotiating. But yeah, eventually it still happened. So like I said, if we're on it, 99% that we're going to buy it, right? We will come to terms. It may change a little bit because of what we find in the, I don't know, in your financial legal stuff, tech due diligence. But again, nothing that we cannot negotiate, nothing that we cannot talk over. We will be very transparent with you. We expect the same in return. But yeah, no, nothing major. We never had to I don't think we ever dropped a deal over like technical due diligence. So whatever we found in your code, we're like, well, we like you. If you want to go forward with it, we'll fix it for you.
That's awesome. So like with that one tool you guys used, was it that the business that was offering the tool was being surreptitious, or was that their own platform may have been accessed by a third-party bad actor?
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah,
Oh,
that's because
No
that was
worries.
before my time.
okay. Oh no, it's okay. No, I just, if you had more information, I was wondering. No, that's really cool there. I hear you. That's still valuable. That's some interesting stories. Omeed and I are a little sadistic in our interest in horror stories, but it's actually really pleasant to hear that you don't have like, it hasn't been bad, because
No.
it just happens. It's just fortune and misfortune are creatures of chance. So it could be a deal later on happens, and you come back to us again on the podcast and got something for us.
Sure. No, I mean, like miscommunications happen. Like, for example, we talked to two potentially competing companies and we end up buying one, and the other gets a little bit upset saying, oh, but now you know so much about my company. Like, I want to request you to delete everything like about our communication. And we say, absolutely, no questions asked. Like, if you want to drop out, you drop out. But we're not worried about buying competing products. We are not going to merge them. We're not going to. This has never been a plan. They are standalone products. They will remain the same. They will share knowledge. We may potentially do some, I don't know, upsells on products that complement each other, but for now, it's not happening yet.
Okay, cool. That makes sense there. Omeed, let me throw the mic over to you. I know you have a cool question you want to ask.
Yeah, I do have that. And then I actually have, I think, one more question. I'm just going to ask you about, just things that you're seeing, like trends you're excited about. You interview a lot of founders. I'm just curious, like, I think you've done like 200 episodes or something now, right? Or so I'm sure, from all the founders that you've talked to, you see like an interesting arc of trends. But before we get to that kind of industry trends question, the first question that I have for you is, talk to us about the vision of SaaS Group. We've heard 5 deals this year. What are the deal sizes? And then what do you do with the companies? Are you legacy holders? Like you just hold them and build them and you hold them for legacy? Are you looking to, grow them and sell them? What's the vision look like there?
Okay, so the big new vision is we're building the world's biggest conglomerate of independent SaaS businesses. That's the ambition that we have right now. And no, we're not planning to sell any of them. We are keeping them to ourselves. We're giving them all the resources to grow, people, investment, whatever they need. And like I said, we're not merging products or companies. They continue to operate as they were. So we're trying to maintain the identities of every company that we buy. And in terms of the size of deals that we're looking into, we're still considering companies that have 1 million ARR, but I think we're slowly walking away from that into buying bigger companies. So I guess the sweet spot would be from 2 to 5, but we've bought bigger, so 10 is good. But what we're looking for is international companies working remotely, mostly because we're all remote. I'm filming this from Vietnam, and we have, I think, 30 more countries where SaaS groupies reside. So a remote, asynchronous, B2B, product growth from 2 to 5 million ARR. Again, this is the sweet spot, but we're absolutely ready to talk to companies that are smaller or bigger. Talk to Dirk Selmer, find him on LinkedIn, he's all over, or talk to me. Yeah, that's the big new vision. We're trying to introduce this concept which we called paved road, where we also try to make sure that everyone is like integrated into the bigger picture. We have the same tools that we're using, so it's no longer just every company uses their own. We are, I want to say, a bootstrapped company as well, because we buy profitable companies and then we use the profits that they generate in order to buy more, right? So this is how we work, and in order to achieve like the best conditions to do that, we want to have the same tools for every company. Obviously, like if it makes sense for somebody to use something else, we will go for it, right? We will buy you a subscription to whatever tool makes sense for your particular business. But it's good to have everyone on the same terms, because again, if you're such a huge team, you can get better deals, like enterprise level deals. We don't want to say enterprise just yet. Don't want to say corporate because we're not going there. Again, this is not the branding that we're looking for. But again, having this like unity in terms of everything, tooling included, I think is really important.
Got it. Totally makes sense. Yeah. The world's biggest conglomerate of independent standalone SaaS businesses. Very cool.
Yes, that's
you got my vote of support. I like it. I like what you guys are doing. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're in.
we next
we're
week.
In.
Next week, we're like, our law firm is a SaaS tool now.
Buy us,
please.
Yeah. So to round out the conversation, and this has been such a pleasure. Really enjoyed this chat. So many good nuggets that you've brought through here, Anna. And so in your seat as the host of the SaaS.Unbound podcast, what are like some trends you're excited about? What are some trends that you might be seeing? What's like a conversation that maybe you've noticed patterns that are like founder mindsets, these sort of things?
Okay, so it might sound cruel, but I'm kind of really excited about the fact that companies have to hold back a little bit and become a bit more scrappy. They need to focus more on retention. They need to focus more on product, on existing customers, because the economical situation is not the best. No one's really lining up at your door to try product, not a lot of new customers. So what you have to do is focus on what you're doing and make it better. And I know it's difficult. It's difficult for us too. We have experienced some bumps on the road, but it also makes you like so much stronger, and you really put all your brain power into what you're doing. You find the scrappiest, the most innovative ways to promote the product. You try new things. And it's really exciting to see how everyone leverages the tools, the strategies out there. A lot of good talk on LinkedIn about this, a lot of great networking because of this. I think this is why our strategy about shared knowledge works so much, because like everyone comes together and says, okay, so we all kind of have the same problem. How can we work around it? How can we solve it? And I think it works great in like this SaaS community. So I'm really excited about that, even though, it's not easy for a lot of founders, and unfortunately some companies obviously don't make it, but those that do, oh, they come out so much stronger, and I'm just so excited to see their growth.
Awesome.
Tough love.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's
sense.
more exciting. Everyone loves Bootstrapper.
That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
right.
And at the end of the day, it's kind of like that's just some basic business skills. Not to downplay it, but it's like everything's not
Yeah.
like always perfect. And if you can't make it through the tough times, then you gotta learn a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That sounds good. So with that in mind, then I feel like we were able to really
Tip of the day.
Oh,
Tip of the day.
tip of the day. Go on.
Yeah.
What's your tip of the day? Just it could be anything we've discussed. I'm stealing Omeed's moment. Go ahead, Omeed.
No, go ahead, man.
No, it's. I think the tip of the day is your thing, man. You do it.
Okay, cool. All right. So tip of the day, I think something from you, like in terms of like a tip for buyers, because we just gave a tip for sellers, like, hey, be scrappy, like figure it out, that was a seller tip. Whatever you want to suggest to other people who buy SaaS businesses, whatever comes to mind in terms of what makes SaaS Group successful could be the tip of the day.
Okay, so I think my tip would be transparent, be very honest, and bring as much information about what you can do, and more even of what you cannot do, as early as possible, to just establish that baseline and take it from there. Because otherwise, if you don't have a clear communication from the beginning, it will only get tougher with time.
Awesome.
I love that.
Awesome. Thanks for that tip of the day. Yeah, Joe, I'm going to pass it back to you. You can close us out.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, thanks for the tip of the day then. So that really leads us to the end of our episode. It's been a great pleasure having you on.
Anna, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast this week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you. And I'm your host, Omeed, and this is another episode of SaaS Buyers Club.
Yeah, and I'm your co-host. Also, Anna, thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you. Same here. And I'm Anna Nadeina, head of growth at SaaS.Group. We are serial buyer that acquires successful, profitable SaaS companies with the bootstrapper mindset. And if you are looking into selling your company, or even just toying with an idea, find me on LinkedIn and let's talk.
Sounds
Awesome.
perfect. It's been great, Anna. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Take care.